Well, to discuss more on the RBI policy, we now have in our studio Mr. Pethe, Vora, ex-chairman IDBI, and ZAKIRHUSEN KAPASI, your market expert in our studio. Vora sir, Zakirji, welcome to Business News. Let me start with you, Mr. Vora, first. As we are expecting the 25 basis point cut after a 9 months pause, with RBI has cut not only a repo rate, policy rate, or CRR also it has cut by 25 basis point. It was a surprise to the market as well. But do you think after cutting a 25 basis point, after a cut of 25 basis points, it's difficult to revive or have a significant economic recovery as far as the Indian economy is concerned? That is one thing. Secondly, we have seen in month of December, this WPI inflation, it was lowest in the month of December. At the same time, the consumer price index which was introduced, it was still double digit. And from September, we are observing both the indexes are traveling opposite paths. How you will explain this situation?
Well, Shailesh, one quick reaction to what you stated about the surprise reduction in the cash reserve ratio.
Right.
That is the first
right.
point. The liquidity position in the market is slightly tight at the moment. So with the result that the Reserve Bank has been constantly endeavoring to inject liquidity in the market.
Right.
You must have seen that in the past two policy reviews also, the CRR has been reduced by 25 basis points each.
Right.
So each time injecting 18,000
Right.
crore in the market. So in the three such reviews, total 54,000 crore has come into the market.
Right.
This is easing of the liquidity position.
Right.
Now at the same time, there was constant request or the clamor, if I may use that word, for reduction in the reverse repo and the repo rates. Market was expecting 50 basis points.
Right.
And market is expecting about 100 basis points in the entire year.
Right.
Going from now on.
Right.
Now when can it happen?
Right.
Because the Reserve Bank very rightly feels that the inflation is still not under control.
It's not a comfortable level at all.
It is not in the comfort zone,
Right.
as you rightly mentioned. The comfort zone is less than 5%.
Right.
Are we nearer to that? We are
far from that.
Still it is 7.20%.
Right.
Even the Reserve Bank's expectation at the end of March
Right.
is at 6.85 or
Right.
6.80. So it is not nearer to the 5%.
Right.
At the same time, the worry is that the consumer price index is more than 10%.
Yeah, it's double digit number.
Core inflation is very high. The food inflation is very high, more than 10%.
Right.
Can Reserve Bank seem to be taking a liberty at this point of time of lowering the repo and reverse repo rate, with the result that the entire all this it has done in the last 9 months can be negated.
Right.
So Reserve Bank doesn't want to take any chances.
Right.
You must have also noted that when the tightening started, it was through a baby step of 25 basis point increase in the 3 years.
3 years we have observed, right.
So now the reduction also is going to come like this only. In fact, Reserve Bank wants to test the water.
Right.
Whether the wholesale price index will come under control or not.
Yeah.
Whether the consumer price index will come under control. And this time, Reserve Bank has added one more parameter, and that is the current account deficit.
Right. It's a very challenging.
Now that is a challenging one. Yeah. The reason is that as it is, the fiscal deficit is not coming under control. It is more than 5.3%. But even the current account deficit has gone to a very high level of more than 5%, as against generally 3% should be the acceptable level, but ideal level is 1.5% as the current account deficit.
Right.
Now that is nowhere near the same. So with considering all these, the Reserve Bank stance is a very cautious stance.
Right.
And this is the correct stance in my opinion.
Of
course. It is with the government on the
reforms
the growth
push and growth
and the reform. But the government will have to walk the talk now in the budget.
Yeah. Before going to Zakir bhai, one more question I would like to put. Sir, if we assume that a 75 to 100 basis point cuts in a year, but that is also it's very challenging to, in effect, to turn around the investment cycle, which we need the most. We have to turn around the investment cycle and also to address the barriers in the capacity addition. We have bottlenecks in many sectors. How will you address that?
Well, now the next step is going to be in budget.
Right.
If the government has already taken some steps, what the railway deficit has been curtailed by the railway rise in the fares.
Diesel subsidy.
Then the diesel partial decontrol has taken place.
Right.
But what? It's a baby step again there. 50 paise per month. So if you have to achieve 10 rupees reduction in deficit, insofar as diesel alone is concerned, it will take a huge time.
Right.
So I think something more is needed on that. Then direct transfer of subsidy into the people below the poverty line in their account.
Right.
So that itself will have a significant step insofar as the deficit reduction is concerned. Now all these things will have to be seen in now February, whether the government is coming out with more measures.
Right.
The more is the insofar as the deficit reduction is concerned.
Right.
What can it happen?
Right. Zakirji, your first reaction on the policy review first, then how the market has reacted, because we were under impression market has already discounted this type of 25 basis points cut, because we have seen last week also market Sensex was up by 200 points. What is the reaction on first on policy action and how the markets have reacted and expect to react?
The first reaction on the policy review is that it was a very, very positive step to reduce CRR, because banks are badly in need of funds and they are bleeding because they are not able to put themselves against NBFCs and other investment companies, because every 100 rupees that they receive, they have to keep 4 rupees aside, 4.25 till now 4 rupees, which is unproductive. And it was very rightly mentioned by Mr. Pradeep Chaudhary, that is SBI chairman, that CRR is one of the biggest hurdles that the banks are facing today. And if this goes down, and it would definitely help the bottom line of the banks. This was a very positive step. As Mr. Vora said, it's a baby step taken towards bringing liquidity. But this liquidity of 18,000 crore rupees which has come in the hands of the bank, it needs to go towards the growth of the economy. It is found that most of the liquidity is not being picked up for the right sector where it's needed, and it's not implemented as required. As we see that the growth has happened, but it's much below what our expectations are, because a lot of things are related to global phenomena also. Global crises are creating a fallover on India. A lot of currency issues are happening where exports have gone down and imports have not been so positively in our favor. So it's basically a mix and match of everything. The CRR, the repo cut of 25 bips is good enough, but definitely market was expecting a little more. Maybe 50 bips would have been a big push to the equity market and overall investment sentiment. But I think we should look forward into the next review, another 25 bips, definitely, I feel.
We're also talking about the liquidity management also, which RBI has done. We have seen the address, how the RBI has addressed the liquidity issues. They have lowered the CRR, as you said. Then they have carried out the OMO, open market operations also. They are lowering the interest of buying bonds from the banks also. But still, as we're talking about the corporate loan, it's costly. The interest rates are high. Talking about the car loan, home loan, today we are expecting that car loans or home loans may be cheaper after the 25 bips point cut we have observed. Why the interest rates are so high? One question, and how the RBI address this liquidity issues now?
Liquidity issue will have to be addressed now more and more through the CRR and open market operations. Now both are going to be coming in sync with each other. Car loan and a home loan, in fact, let me be somewhat candid with you. Somewhat reductions have already taken place in the past 6 months. But because this 25 basis point cut in the reverse repo and repo rates has already come about, it is bound to come about. Because the Reserve Bank stance to the bankers is going to be that I have given insofar as what was expected from me. Now you will have to replicate in the actual practice insofar as you are concerned. And I'm quite sure the bankers will take a clue from the market and from Reserve Bank, and the minimum 25% rate cut on the lending insofar as the car loans and the home loans is concerned is on the card. That is going to improve the significant improvement in the sentiment in the home loan front. Because the demand for the homes is extremely sluggish. The cost is very high. The inventory is rising. So this will improve the sentiments. And that will have the multiplier effect. But this is not enough. What is going to be enough? Enough is the budget.
Right.
In the budget, shall we see the fiscal deficit being contained?
Right.
Shall we see the current account deficit going to be contained?
Right.
Shall we see the more and more of the direct taxes
Right.
on the richer people? That is
Right.
what the people are talking
Right.
about.
Right.
Now, if all these things come about, Reserve Bank will be emboldened
Yeah.
to take more steps.
Right, right. And if market is also expecting a very friendly budget also, as you have said it correctly. Zakir, talking about the investment climate also, we need a domestic as well as foreign capital. How is the investment cycle improved, how investment climate is improved, and what are the investor sentiments? Of course, domestic and the foreign institutional investors also. What is the now outlook on Indian markets now?
I think this positive steps will definitely be a welcome for FIIs. That is, foreign institutional investors would definitely look towards India.
Yeah.
But overall global crisis is creating a
Right.
little worry for them, because the fall of the growing economy
Right.
is very dangerous, because
Right.
if the economy is not doing good, it's fine, they know about
Right.
it. But if it's a growing economy and a little fall, and there is a worry that
Right.
this economy might not be able to take up further.
Right.
So India is a growing economy where FI's money is coming in,
Right.
but it's even going out very unexpectedly.
Right.
So the movement of in and out is beyond our expectation, and that is why the markets are reacting
Right.
according to the in and out of the FII's flow.
Right.
I feel that if the FIIs remain here for a longer period, the local investors, that is the domestic investors'
Right.
sentiment would build, and there would be more better atmosphere of
Yeah.
investment coming ahead.
Right. Very
But
conducive
here
atmosphere. Yeah.
I feel that this index which has gone up, it's on a very weaker grounds.
Right.
There is a fear that it might fall any
Right.
moment. If a little bit of outflux of money, and there would be a huge reaction on the
Right,
market.
right. We have observed it many times also.
Yeah,
Once
absolutely.
Well, so let me take a cue from what
In fact,
Mr.
I
Zakir
would
has
like
said.
to
Yeah.
take the same thing
Yeah.
for what Mr. ZAKIRHUSEN has said.
Yeah.
You know, $18 billion has come in the market
FIIs.
for some time.
Yeah.
Debt, also the government has increased the ceiling to $25 billion. But 60% of that has come into the short-term debt,
Debt, yeah.
of the commercial papers and only
The money
treasury bills.
market, yeah.
And that too not a long-term, short-term treasury bill.
Right.
It's a very short-term money.
Right.
It can go out in no time. Reserve Bank is aware of the danger of
Right,
this.
right.
It is a very hot money. In fact, if I may use the word,
It's hot
it's
money,
a hot
right,
money. It's the moment it comes in, it can go out also equally fast.
Yeah.
So the structural changes will have to take place, and structural changes are what I mentioned earlier. But in addition to what Mr. ZAKIRHUSEN has been stressing, I entirely agree with him.
Yeah.
US fiscal cliff is
Yeah.
still the problems are
Definitely,
persistent.
definitely. And
The
there is a
European
poor
Union
optimism in
problems are
European
there.
and also, right?
So all these problems, when the macro sector is not very, very attractive today, you cannot be immune from that. You are not decoupled from the market world. So with the result that entire thing will have to be seen in the larger context, that whether the European Union will be all right,
Right.
the US will be able to address its all concerns.
Yeah.
If all these things will be all right, I think you can be expecting 6.5 to 7% growth. But if not, then there could be further problems.
Yeah.
Let us see what happens in future.
Two domestic points, Vora sir, I would like to ask you about the deficit in monsoon also. We have seen it has impact on the crops also, what we have seen. Then the global situation you have already discussed. What is the impact on this deficit in monsoon and other domestic factors also? Because ours is a domestic consumption story, because that's why the what is attracted towards us also is a domestic consumption story. Is in RBI policy review, they have enough mention about this consumption factor, how it increase the consumption?
Well, the RBI, must have seen the policy review of the governor.
Yeah.
Two factors it has mentioned. Severe winter
Right.
might affect the winter crop.
Right, right.
So that is the one issue
Right.
which is bothering RBI. Second one is the monsoon.
Right.
Both the things, the RBI governor is extremely
Right.
worried.
Right.
And with the result that the RBI feels that now the demand supply side constraint will have to be taken care of by the government of India
Right, right.
in the budgetary policy.
Right.
RBI review is limited to the monetary policy,
Right.
which has to be in sync with the fiscal.
Right.
Now fiscal policy will come now.
Right.
So eventually Reserve Bank is prepared to go something in sync with the government, provided these two things also are in sync with the Reserve Bank policy.
Right. Zakirji, what is the sectors that is affected on all these weeks? We have seen the huge action also on the markets. We have seen the 200 points movement. Also, we have crossed the 20,000 mark also. What are the sectors benefited from all these things?
I feel that today's policy will definitely give a positive boost to auto sector, and infra should take up, but it will take a little time to move because nothing can happen overnight.
Right.
But definitely automobile sector, which was on the verge of rising and showing a positive trend, might pick up the trend from here. Banks are still sluggish. Banks should take the clue from here on.
Right.
If that 18,000 crore coming in, the liquidity gives a bank a little push. It might see a little positive sign, but they are on a weaker ground again. I don't see a very healthy atmosphere in the banking sector as of now.
Right.
But if the policy further in the next review shows something good and the budget helps the push further, and there can be something good. But otherwise, I feel automobile sector looks a little better than other sectors, and infrastructure and construction industry would show a little positive trend only if the growth comes up a little bit, inflation falls down, as basic requirements are more.
Right.
So housing would come as one of those requirements.
Right.
So I think this
one last part from Vora sir. Do you think it's the beginning of easing of interest rates and how it will benefit to the infrastructure sector? What Mr. Zakir also has said is a $1 trillion opportunity, $1 trillion investment we are expecting in this sector.
Well, it is definitely the easing sign is visible on the anvil, but a more will be seen by March when the next review comes up.
Okay, it will be after budget also. After the budget.
So after the budget, obviously, if the budget is on the expected line, reduction in the current account deficit, reduction in the fiscal deficit, reduction in the subsidies, if three things happen, you can see a further reduction on the card immediately.
Definitely, as you said it correctly, sir, we require the structural changes also. But one thing is clear, this RBI's mandate now it is growth. Though the inflation is not at that comfortable level, but yes, the growth is the prime importance, priority for RBI, as well as is in line with the reform push which we have seen the government has initiated for last 6 months. Zakirji, Vora sir, thanks a lot for joining us on Business News.